Good morning, everybody. It is 9 a.m. Eastern, Friday, March 10th. We have the market doing extremely well. We saw yesterday that bounce right off the daily middle Bollinger Band. We closed the day with a bullish reversal candlestick, and then now we have this follow through, a gap up open. And on top of that, we now have a bullish reaction to data this morning. So the bulls are in full control with a gap up open. As we know, the 20-period 5-minute moving average support will be our guide. If we lose that 20-period moving average, we will look for some profit taking and some consolidation. But as long as that level does hold, the bulls are extremely strong, and that's 237.86. And the high of pre-market right now is 238.34. So how did we know the bulls yesterday were strong? It was that volume, the 5-minute volume on the bounce. Once the bulls really kicked it into second gear, that is when we were looking at that volume, and it stood out. The bear volume on the way down stood out because it was greater than the volume preceding it earlier in the day. Let's look at that real quick. The volume earlier in the day was very low. Then the bear volume certainly stood out. But then look at this bull volume. This is a wall of bull volume on the way back up, and that is volume backing up the move, and that is proof to us that the bulls had strength as they were driving the price to the upside, and we see that follow through today with some really nice continuation. So we've got all hourly moving averages as support, bulls back in control on the driver's seat, and we look at the 5-day chart. We can see our clear consolidation coming off of the big gap up and all-time highs, normal, healthy, contained consolidation, and now the bulls are turning it around, and we're going to look to see how many significant higher lows and higher highs the bulls can get here as we head back towards that all-time high. So the bulls, we have a lot of individual bull names here responding well. We've got PCLN going to get new all-time highs. Facebook's going for all-time highs again. Google and Amazon are approaching their all-time highs. So there's a lot of names that held up strong during this 5-day consolidation that are now going to be looking to benefit to the upside from this market strength. So PCLN stands out because it was very strong the entire consolidation and even saw new all-time highs during that consolidation. So I'm pretty excited to see what PCLN bulls can do now in this more bullish environment. So checking in on the daily time frame for SPY. There's that bullish reversal candlestick. Very long lower wick right off that level. Big time bulls buying the dip. A green day today will confirm it. And we do need to be cautious with the gap up open for profit taking, but we have our moving averages on the 5-minute time frame to be our guide in that sense. We're going to break this lower high pattern that has been in play every single day since that all-time high. 6 days in a row of lower highs while we consolidate. And resistance right now, I'm looking up at 238.12 and then up at 238.61. And then we're looking up towards the all-time high. Not a ton of resistances at this level. And on SPY on the weekly time frame, we're going to have a nice lower wick on this weekly candlestick. Still a very small range on this weekly chart. And we're going to be right back up to the high of the week with the open here today, this morning. So the dollar is seeing weakness, a little bit of a lower high pattern on the hourly. We have a double top, 102.26 and 102.25, and the bears are jumping all over that. So that is our clear resistance to be watching going forward. And we are losing support here. And next support I'm looking down at on the dollar is 101.43. Bears clearly in control on the dollar right now, but we are approaching oversold, so we do need to be aware that we are likely to see a little bit of oversold bounce on the way to the downside. But on the daily time frame, after that double top and pullback, we're going to have a key support level down here at 101.22, and that's where we pulled back to after the last rejection from that level of 102.26. So if we were to break 101.22, that would be a double top and then a lower low, and that would change this daily uptrend. So that is the important level for the dollar on the daily time frame, 101.22. We're approaching that level now. Dollar bulls are trying to see a reversal. Pretty big move to the upside here, taking back some of this downside. And what we need to see from this point on is higher lows and higher highs to prove to us that the bulls have momentum. So I'm looking at resistance of 12.0474 and 12.0896. Bulls are very clearly seeing some nice upside strength. We've got the 4-hour chart giving us this bullish MACD cross. And we have now turned that 10-hour or that 10-period 4-hour resistance line into support. And we're looking to see our second green candlestick in a row. We have a long way to go until this candlestick closes, but we have not seen 2 green 4-hour candlesticks in a row since back on March 1st. So this is showing the bulls have some life to them. And the question is going to be, can we continue to form higher lows and higher highs? Has this shifted the trend now for the bulls? And as of right now, with this very strong reaction first thing, it does appear that that is the case. So silver seeing the same kind of turnaround, big time bull candlestick trying to follow through. And in order for silver to break the clear lower high pattern, it's up at 1727. So that's a key resistance for silver, and for gold, that level is 1208.96. We're quickly approaching it. So some big time follow through for the gold bulls. Hourly RSI is getting up towards 70. and finally seeing this oversold bounce begin to play out. Let's check out oil. Oil has a little bit of an oversold bounce attempting to play out. Need to be very critical of the bulls here. The bulls have to prove to us that they have strength, because otherwise we're just going to see another lower high. So the key resistance I'm watching is 50.12. I believe James said it's 50.15 for him. So a couple pennies within that range, but 50.12, 50.15 to break the lower high pattern. We have a higher low right now established at 49.29. That is a must hold level going forward for the rest of the day. We cannot break 49.29 at any point today. Otherwise, that will be a big setback for the bulls. So the daily time frame, we did have a bit of a bullish reversal spinning top candlestick yesterday with the size of the upper and lower wick, and it looks like we're likely to form an inside candlestick today compared to that range yesterday, as we see the bulls attempt to get this bounce on the daily time frame underway. And it is an oversold bounce. The RSI dropped down to 30 here on the daily time frame yesterday. So checking in on natural gas, the natural gas bulls are still holding very strong, and we got up over the $3 psychological resistance level. That's a great start for the bulls, and we're seeing a little bit of consolidation. We just bounced off of 298, so the bulls continuing higher lows and higher highs, and we're going to be closing this week very strong, it does appear. After consolidating to fill the gap, bulls showing back up and getting higher highs, and the bulls are still in full control on this oversold bounce. The next resistances I'm looking at are 3062 and 309, the next two resistances for natural gas. Very strong close on the weekly chart, and we'll see how much continuation the bulls have here. Well aware that we are in a downtrend on the daily time frame, and this is just an oversold bounce at this point. So we can be starting to scout for a bearish entry as well. This is not a trend change by any means with how much downside we have seen on this daily chart. So next week I will be looking for some key resistance levels. Perhaps this downtrend line might reject the price in the mid 305 range. But natural gas bulls in control here after the inventory report yesterday as we head into the end of the week. Bitcoin is all over the place. Bitcoin seeing some action, and we just hit a new all-time high, 10% move in Bitcoin in 15 minutes, and that was due to a tweet by someone who I didn't recognize, but they were saying that they are confident that the new ETF that's being decided on will go through. So that news giving a big-time spike to Bitcoin, a new all-time high this morning, up to 1350, and this shows us how volatile Bitcoin is. But right now, Bitcoin is worth more than an ounce of gold, and it is not going anywhere in terms of being a digital currency that we're going to be talking about for a while. And especially if this ETF becomes available and it gets approved, it's going to be a lot more mainstream, and the price of Bitcoin is going to continue to ascend, in my opinion. So definitely interesting to watch in the world of these digital currencies. Bitcoin bulls still strong. So let's get into some 5-minute setups. A couple plays I'm going to be looking at. I'm going to be watching SPWR today, and it's this low cap solar name. It's been pulling back very significantly. We did get oversold on the hourly time frame into the low 20s on that RSI with the dump yesterday. So we are looking for a bullish reversal candlestick today, and we're going to be looking for the bulls to turn things back around. I like this back test of this middle Bollinger Band on the weekly time frame. This middle Bollinger Band was acting as resistance. We finally got it as support, and here's our back test. That's at 720. So the goal for the bulls today is to close above 720, and that would be a back test and a hold of this support level, looking for the bulls to remain in control. So keep an eye on SPWR. Bulls want to see a bullish reversal candlestick and a close back over the 100 and the 50-day moving averages in the 735 range. Also going to be keeping an eye on some of these oversold bounce names still. GoPro was very tight. A break of 806 and 812 will show that the GoPro bulls have an oversold bounce underway, weak bounce. And I'm going to assume it's going to be a weak bounce just because we're coming off of all-time lows. I would be quick to lock in any profit on a GoPro bounce, but we are looking for that to get underway as the bulls are building a base at the all-time low of 791, and we're looking for a break of this lower high pattern with a break of 806 today. Also going to be keeping an eye on these other names, PANW. We saw PANW getting very, very tight. Very similar setup with the bulls building a base of support, and we need to break the lower high pattern. I'm looking at 115.83, 116 and 116.63. Keep an eye on PANW. We could get underway here for this oversold bounce as we begin heading into next week. We were watching NTNX as well. They're still building a base down at the $21 range. $21 is an absolute must-hold level, and the bulls need some momentum back over 22. A lot more volatility here in NTNX, but I'm still watching all these oversold bounce names, and obviously the market overall is going to be favoring the bulls in a lot of these names. So checking in on the 5-minute time frame to start. And we'll start with X and AMD. So X Bulls have all 5-minute moving averages as support. 36.42 is the 20-period moving average. We need to be very cautious because it's been a consistent pattern recently where a bull move in the first 15, 20 minutes on X in the morning gets sold off into. And we saw that big time yesterday with a big upper wick of profit taking. So 37.07 was resistance from yesterday, and the Bulls need to break that level today to really prove that they have some strength. Otherwise, we're going to just be looking for the Bulls to maintain the 50-day moving average support. We have tested and held it the past 2 days. That's at 35.69, and we're starting well above that level today. We've got hourly resistance, not until 37.14, so we do have some nice space to the upside on the hourly if the Bulls can keep these 5-minute moving averages, 36.42 and then 35.89. A loss of this 20-period moving average would be a red flag of some profit taking, and we would be looking back down at a pretty significant drop to the next 5-minute moving average support if this 36.42 20-period moving average is lost. So AMD and these semiconductors, I still am skeptical of this daily chart for AMD. Obviously, we're getting some help from the bulls in the market today. 13.55 is the highest price we've seen on this bull move, and the higher pre-market up here is 13.48. So the middle Bollinger Band resistance is beginning to leveling out and descending on the daily time frame. If we cannot close above that middle Bollinger Band, which is going to be in the 1360s today, I am going to still be skeptical of this move because the bull volume is drying up and because there is not really any conviction in terms of strong closes the past 4 days on this bounce for AMD. So I'm skeptical of this bounce at this point. If the bulls can close over that middle Bollinger Band on the daily, I will give them a bit more credit, but I would be cautious on AMD and watching 13.55 this morning. We'll see if the bulls can break that level and get to that middle Bollinger Band resistance. In terms of support consolidation, the low pre-market is down at 13.39. Then we're looking at moving averages, 13.37 and 13.33. NVDA in the same sector here. So NVDA is in a bit on the daily chart. It's in a bit of a gray area, so to speak. We've been doing a really good job of trading NVDA in both directions. So my props to everybody in the chat room that is covering NVDA. But right now, I'm watching 101.30 as the next key resistance. The bulls clearly have momentum into this morning. The 20-period moving average support is 99.64. We are seeing a gap up open, so again, this 20-period needs to hold or we see profit taking on that gap up. So I'm going to be watching that 20-period moving average. I'm watching the hourly. Last hourly moving average resistance is going to be right around 101.30, and that 101.30 level is the lower high that we saw back from 2 days ago. So I don't really have as much confidence with the current direction on NVDA as I have in the past couple of weeks. So I'm going to be patient. I'm going to be watching to see if the support holds, and I'm going to be watching the reaction to 101.30 resistance. We'll see if we get some weakness as we head up towards that level. No WWL. I'm going to go ahead and assume WLL. So WLL 20-period moving average is 937. The low pre-market is 930, and then we're looking at 923. We did have a bullish reversal hammer yesterday after an all-out dump the past couple of days. Resistance is 940. If the bulls can break 940 right out of the gate, they will look to try and confirm this bullish reversal candlestick from yesterday. We need to be very cautious of the daily lower Bollinger Band resistance. That lower Bollinger Band likely, or it usually rejects the price on the first attempt, and that's going to be dropping down right into the relevant price range today. So update that daily up lower Bollinger Band at the open, and if we reject from it, we know that the bulls still have a lot of work to do on this oversold bounce. If we can close above the lower Bollinger Band, confirm the bullish reversal candlestick from yesterday, we'll be looking at some hourly moving average resistances, and the next one is a long ways away. So I'm looking at 951 resistance, and we'll have to see what that lower Bollinger Band is when we update first thing this morning. CNQ. CNQ breakout yesterday on big bull volume after some low volume consolidation the previous 3 days. Close up at the high of the day. 32.15 was the high, so a potential for maybe an incremental gap up open. Support is 31.96, the 20-period 5-minute moving average. And after 32.15, the next resistance that I'm looking at is going to be up at 32.21, and there's a gap at 32.45, and 32.15 is currently a little double top on the daily time frame, so it's really important that the bulls break that level right at the open. If we reject from 32.15 first thing, I would not be surprised to see a lot of profit taking. So that is a key level the bulls want to break right away, and then that gap fill of 32.45 would be the next target, and the bulls want to continue to close above the upper Bollinger Band on the daily time frame to remain in breakout mode as we head into next week. And curious about the weekly chart here. And the weekly chart is looking pretty bullish as well. So there's some nice upside potential. Goal for the Bulls is to close above that upper Bollinger Band again today. KITE 81.76, 5-minute moving average support. Extremely bullish continuation yesterday and close up near the high. 82.46 was that high. So the Bulls want to break that level first thing. Again, we need to be cautious because if we see the Bulls unable to break 82.46 right out of the gate, we could potentially see some profit taking as Bulls recognize that. So we are going to open just below that level. If we break it, we're looking up at 83 psychological as the next resistance from there. And again, that 20-period moving average support of 81.76 will be key. If we lose that level without being able to break 82.46, I would not be surprised to see profit taking. SPX is the same as SPY and the same analysis that I give on the daily videos and coverage. It's a bullish reversal candlestick. We're looking to confirm it today. And the next resistance to be watching on SPX is going to be 23.79 and then 23.84 essentially. And I'm doing a little bit of rounding. But just looking at the previous highs, the lower highs on our consolidation over the past week, those are the resistance levels on the way back towards the upside. And I don't have an opinion on the wide range bar at this point. We'll have to see how we trade today, but I do believe that the Bulls have some nice strength, and that volume yesterday at the bottom was the indication of that strength. Dow transports on the daily time frame, same exact pattern as the S&P 500. Actually, it's the wrong ticker. So Tran here is weak. So the Dow transport here is seeing lower highs and lower lows. This chart looks more like IWM than it does the S&P 500. So we broke the higher low pattern. This break here of 92.63 was bearish, and we closed pretty weak yesterday as well. So we broke the uptrend on the daily time frame. We're not nearly seeing nearly as much strength as we are on the S&P 500 and the markets in general, and we're going to have to see the Bulls make a significant turnaround here to try and regain this trend. I'm looking at support of 91.59, 91.59, and resistance. We need a bullish reversal candlestick, step number 1 today. So that's the goal for the Bulls on the Dow transport today. Get that bullish reversal candlestick to be looking for some hope into next week, but very clearly bearish divergence with the S&P 500. Apple, we're going to be looking for a potential gap up open today. 138.79 would fill the gap if we consolidate. And in terms of resistance, I'm looking at 140 and then up at 140.28, the all-time high. So the Bulls are still in full control. We have all hourly moving averages as support, and it was a very impressive bounce yesterday. Again, that dump occurred in like 3 minutes, $1.50 to the downside, and the Bulls bought that dip, and they held up pretty well. And it's a very similar candlestick to XLK, the technology sector, and Apple and XLK are really linked more so now than ever. Well, I won't say ever, but more so now than in recent weeks. So definitely worth watching XLK if you're trading Apple. And with this gap up open, the lower pre-market is 139.04, and the higher pre-market resistance is 139.40. And the Bulls are still holding strong on the daily time frame. At this point, it's going to require a loss of the daily middle Bollinger Band support for me to be looking any kind of bearish action on Apple. Now that gap has filled to the downside, we had that gap at 137.44 that filled yesterday, and the Bulls bought the dip. So still remaining in control, still keeping exponential daily supports, and that 20-period middle Bollinger Band on the daily continues to ascend to the upside. So JNUG Bulls obviously in control this morning with the gold bounce, higher lows and higher highs on the 5-minute time frame. We've got 541 as the 200-period moving average support, and on JNUG daily time frame, need to see a break of the lower high pattern. That is an absolute must today. 579 was the high of yesterday. And this has now been a pattern 9 or 10 days in a row, lower highs on the daily time frame. If the Bulls cannot break 579 this morning, that's a red flag, and that shows some weakness. So we need to establish higher lows, continue with higher highs. The higher pre-market is 559, still 20 cents shy, still about 4% shy of breaking the lower high pattern on the daily. So it's a good start to the day for the Bulls, but they are by no means proving themselves yet. We need to remain skeptical. Hourly 20-period moving average trying to become support. 100-period moving average resistance is 593. We will look to that level next if we do break the high of yesterday of 579, but the Bulls still have proving and still have work to do. We'll see if we can hold all 5-minute moving averages as support into the open this morning. And JDST is seeing some downside. So it's pretty much the exact opposite of what I just said. JDST is holding the higher low pattern on the daily time frame 10 days in a row. A break of 2107 would be bearish. We are still holding that level. Support is 2180, 2107. And we've got all 5-minute moving averages as resistance. So the bulls need to start forming some higher lows and higher highs and getting over these 5-minute resistances to try and turn things around. But as of right now, momentum is favoring the minor bulls. It's favoring the gold bulls. And we are seeing consolidation in the bear miners. But gold right now on the hourly time frame is forming a bearish candlestick, and we're seeing consolidation. So we need to see a higher low and then a move back up towards the high of this move that we just saw on gold, 1206.21. GM, so we had, I believe Shia was asking about that bullish or that bottom fishing play from yesterday, and it did initially start to work out. See how that end of the day went yesterday for GM. So there was a sell-off there right at the end of the day, taking back that bounce. So we had that nice bounce play out and then a sell-off right back to the low of the day, but we're seeing a higher open here. I'm looking at resistance of 37.22 and 37.35, the high of yesterday. Bulls are still holding this daily middle Bollinger Band, and we've held the past 4 tests in the past 4 weeks. So that middle Bollinger Band is going to be just approaching up towards 37. So we're going to start the day above that level. As long as we hold the daily middle Bollinger Band, the bulls remain in control on the daily time frame. But we do have a lot of resistance at this, just under this 38 psychological level in the upper 37. So I'm watching a tightening range between the middle Bollinger Band support, which continues to ascend on the daily, and that key, we can call it $38 psychological resistance. We have a couple tops at that level. And the bulls are looking for a bullish reversal candlestick today after closing at the low of the day yesterday. We're off to a good start, and hourly resistances are going to be 37.41 and 37.52. Bulls must hold on to this strong start after the open. If we were to pull back down towards $37, we could expect a test of that middle Bollinger Band support. QCOM. QCOM all 5-minute moving averages are support. 58.05 is the 20-period 5-minute moving average. We've got a strong close yesterday. Highest prices we've seen the past 2 days were 58.10 and 58.08. So we're seeing a gap up open. The upper Bollinger Band resistance is going to be in the 58.70s. That will be a resistance level to watch. And by breaking 58.13, we will begin filling the gap back to the upside. And the gap fills at 62.04. It is not clear sailing to fill that gap. We have moving average resistances, the 200 days mixed in there. But as of right now, we're seeing the strong gap up open, and we'll see if we get rejected from the upper Bollinger Band daily resistance. That will be the level we're watching. The gap would fill back to the downside at 57.40 if we were to consolidate. And again, same story. The 20-period 5-minute moving average is our guide. If we lose that level as support this morning, we will look for profit taking on the gap up open. But as of right now, bulls are looking really strong, and nice higher lows and higher highs continuing on this oversold bounce for the past month and a half on the daily time frame. So EMC, very weak, one of the weaker MJ Canadian names from yesterday, giving back all of its gains to the upside and closing near the low. So 253 and 241s are support, and the bears are very strong. We have not seen a green day in 5 days. We have not seen 2 green days in a row since back in mid-February, almost a month without 2 green days in a row. So the bulls must form a reversal candlestick with some strength today, and ideally holding 253. If we break 253, we just have one level left to watch, 241. So this very clear lower high pattern, we have all kinds of resistance levels to be watching from that pullback yesterday, and we do need to be cautious because the bears are very strong still on EMC. ACB. Key support, we held steady yesterday with 237 as a key support, and resistance is going to be up at 245. A break of 237 is a red flag because we didn't build much support on the way up yesterday. So 237 is a must hold this morning. After 245 resistance, I'm looking at 250 and then 255. So the bulls want to break that high of yesterday first thing. Looks like a bunch of names could potentially be gapping up open today. And there is the potential of a gap and trap where we see profit taking on this gap up open, which we have become accustomed to in this sector. Personally, I would not be making any bullish entries in the sector today. This is day 3 of the bounce, and it's coming with a gap up open. That would signal profit taking to me. I would likely be exiting my positions probably this morning. Maybe I'd let it play out a little bit to see if we do have some bullish momentum into the afternoon, but I would not be looking to initiate any new bullish positions with this strength. Again, this is day 3 of the bounce, so if we haven't entered already at this point, either on day 1 or day 2, entering on day 3 is not a good idea in my opinion, and I would be looking to exit and lock in profit if my entries on this bounce were just for shorter term positions. Jazz has a pretty tight range heading into the end of the day yesterday. 133.58 resistance and 132.13 support. You can see a clear higher low, lower high pattern that never broke. So watch those levels. We have a double top the past 2 days almost, 134.25, 134.14. And the high of the day, the past 4 days in a row, have rejected from the daily middle Bollinger Band resistance, which is going to be in the 134.40 range to start today. So step number 1 is break this lower high pattern from yesterday by breaking 133.58. And then step number 2 is closing over the daily middle Bollinger Band. Otherwise, the bears are going to remain in control. The consolidation currently going on Jazz is bullish. It is a potential bull flag. We're holding the 50-week moving average support after a couple weeks of consolidation, but the bulls have to get over the daily middle Bollinger Band to prove to us that consolidation is done for now and the bulls are ready to show back up. So it's definitely worth keeping an eye out for the bulls to show up, but we need that proof over that daily middle Bollinger Band as it has rejected the price 4 days in a row. IMG. So IMG had a dump at the end of the day yesterday, closing down near the down near the low of the day. IM Gold Corporation, that's a pretty bad name in my opinion. And we have a pretty bad chart on the past 4 weeks. So we've got the lowest price we've seen on this consolidation of 462. If we break that level, looks like there's a little gap here at 459. And then looking down at 434. So 459 would fill the gap. We need a bullish reversal candlestick with confirmation. We've seen a few bullish reversal candlesticks on the way down, but no confirmation, and we've seen lower highs. We've seen lower highs now 3, 6, almost 10 days in a row it looks like. So 478, 479, the high of the past 2 days, and need to break that level to see any kind of movement to the upside, and maybe a name change would get the ball rolling for the bulls. ATH.TO. 156 resistance and 150 support, a little channel on the 5-minute time frame, as we did see the bulls buy the dip into the end of the day yesterday. That gave us a bullish reversal doji on the daily time frame, bouncing just above the 200-day moving average support. So a green day today will confirm that bullish reversal candlestick. Bulls want to break 155, the sooner the better, and then the next resistance we're looking from there is going to be hourly moving average resistances. 156 is the 20 period, and I'm looking up at 157 and 165. So need a nice solid green day to confirm that bullish reversal candlestick from yesterday. Checking back in on gold as we continue to consolidate. So we can be looking for a potential bullish entry on gold with this consolidation that is occurring here this morning after that big initial bull push. So right now on GDX, support is 2130, 2125, and then 2117 with resistance being 2142. The same thing, must break the lower high pattern on the daily time frame. Pretty much any name relative to gold has been seeing lower highs 10 days in a row. 2155 needs to break that pattern here on GDX. So still work to do for the bulls. Not only do we have to break the high of pre-market, we need another 14 cents to the upside to break the high of yesterday. Hourly, we've got that 20-period moving average becoming support, so there is space to the upside on the hourly. It's all about the resistance, the high of yesterday, on pretty much anything gold related. Looking at NUGT, same exact thing. High of pre-market is 768, and to break the lower high pattern on the daily time frame, need to see a break of 784. And in terms of support, this little consolidation on the 5-minute, 750, bulls ideally want to hold that level and head back to the upside here after the open. Checking back in on SPY as we're heading into the open, 20-period 5-minute moving average support continues to hold 237.92 with the high of pre-market 238.32. We'll be watching that 20-period moving average very closely. SQ bulls had a nice follow-through day yesterday, getting above $17 resistance. And the high of the day was 1720, so we're seeing a strong start. 1746 is the high of pre-market and the next resistance to be watching. And then we're looking up at 1764. I do like this daily chart. I like that healthy consolidation, and I like the fact that the bulls are showing back up on increasing bull volume. Bulls would love to see more than 5.7 million shares traded today and some follow through to the upside. That would show a lot of strength going forward. And 1650 is now our must hold level, the low of this consolidation, and our higher low on the daily time frame after the big time bull breakout, healthy consolidation, and now the bulls are trying to head back up. Strongest market is QQQ. I do that market rundown video every single day where I'm comparing QQQ, IWM, and SPX, and QQQ is the strongest currently. S&P 500 is not far behind it, but IWM is very clearly the weakest of the three. So QQQ in the tech sector are the lead bulls. We'll check in with the tech sector. We're seeing a big time gap up on the tech sector, and we're not seeing that gap up on the financial sector. We're opening right at the high of yesterday. Nice follow through to the upside for the tech names. Apple will certainly be liking that. So we've got PCLN testing the all-time high, and we just hit a new all-time high first trade this morning. Biotech bulls are still holding strong. And we are off to a bullish open here. We're watching the 20-period 5-minute support on SPY. 237.93 currently being tested. If we lose that level, I'm looking down at 237.66 and 64. So we are potentially losing this 20-period on this first candlestick. We have obviously a ways to go until it closes. A little bit of back and forth to watch here. First thing on SPY. So we're going to be watching Amazon and Google as they're getting closer and closer to their all-time high. Google right now is $4 from its all-time high. Not far at all. And the tech sector is extremely strong first thing as well. SPWR, in order to see the bulls have a convincing day today, we need to see a strong close. And we've got the hourly 20-period resistance of 741 to be watching as well. Checking in on these bull miners, what kind of start to the morning are we having? Keeping this higher low pattern alive on the 5-minute, and we're heading back up towards the high of pre-market. Bulls need to break that level as gold is still consolidating a bit. The bull miners are holding on strong. So NVDA rejecting from $100 psychological resistance and seeing some weakness first thing. A little bit of back and forth and indecision on the first 5-minute candlestick, but if we do not break 101.30 on NVDA, it is just another lower high on the daily time frame. So that is the level for the bulls to prove themselves, 101.30, and we're struggling at $100 first thing this morning. So not counting out the S&P 500 SPY just yet on that 20-period moving average. 3 more minutes to go until it closes, and we're seeing a lot of back and forth trying to find its range here. Facebook bulls are roaring here, all-time highs. We have to watch this daily upper Bollinger Band, and we're right there. 139.32 is the upper Bollinger Band, and that has been a level that has marked the resistance point for the Facebook bulls the past 2 weeks. The bulls have been unable to get above that level. They're going to have to see a high volume day to do it, ideally more than 15.5 million shares traded. We're off to a good start with more than 5% of that in the first 3 minutes of trading here. Keep an eye on that volume. We'll see if the bulls have enough momentum to get above that upper Bollinger Band, but we do need to be aware that is where we have been rejecting. So Facebook support on the 5-minute time frame, 20-period moving average is 138.87. Blue sky breakout. AMD, nice, very strong bull start. So the daily chart, bulls are trying to get over this middle Bollinger Band. Nice bull break of 13.55 first thing, but here's this middle Bollinger Band at 13.71. We are currently pulling back, but obviously the bull's off to a very strong start. So we have to watch how the price reacts to this middle Bollinger Band today. A close above 17.31 will prove some strength on the daily time frame, and otherwise I will remain skeptical of this bull bounce. NVDA continuing to show weakness. Down near the low of the day, already hit the low of pre-market, broke that level. The support on NVDA is going to be on the hourly, 98.66, the 100-hour moving average support. Nice recovery by these SPY bulls. They're not giving up this 20 period just yet. A lot of back and forth, however. Checking back in on these bull miners. Nice follow through. They did break the high of pre-market. Do have a little higher low, higher high pattern, and now we're watching the high of yesterday. Must break level. ADSK. Interesting pattern on ADSK where we do have a gap still on the way down and the way up. The middle Bollinger Band resistance is 85.49, and the volume tells the story. The bear volume absolutely owning the bull volume on this bounce attempt at this point. Did fill the gap back to the upside at 84.98, but there is a gap to the downside, 84.29. If the bulls can close above 85.49 and turn that daily middle Bollinger Band into support, that will prove some strength going forward. And that's the key level to watch today. But in terms of those gaps, that's not going to give me any kind of signal or indication. It's the volume that I'm looking at that is telling me the bear volume is greater than the bull volume. Apple pull back to the downside right out of the gate at the open. Seeing a bit of a change in the correlation with XLK, which is still strong. Apple did fill the gap back to the downside of 138.79. Actually, I take that back. We still have a couple pennies to go. 138.79 fills the gap. We came 5 cents away. And once we do fill that gap, we do have the 100 and 200 period 5-minute moving averages at those levels. See if the bulls turn it around after that fact. SPY did lose that 20 period moving average support, so we are in consolidation mode. And the SPY gap will fill back to the downside at 237.24. You do need to be cautious, bullish here. Key level I'm watching is in the 237.60s, the low of pre-market consolidation. Break that level, and we are looking to head back down to fill the gap. Facebook bulls still extremely strong. Tesla, one of the first names to go green on my screen, or red on my screen, I should say. And Tesla support is 243 and 242. And we're down near the low of the day on Tesla. One of the first weak names. A couple other names now joining in the red. We do need to be cautious with this gap up open. Names like Facebook are not seeing any weakness. Neither is the tech sector. But we are seeing SPY pull back a bit. And XLF, the financial sector, looks like we have a double top with the high of yesterday. 24.94 and the high of today is 24.95, and we're pulling back a little bit. Need to be watching XLF as well. VRX. All 5-minute moving averages as resistance. The bulls have to get over 1172 and 1175 to see any kind of follow through to the upside. And the bulls are building a base at the 1150 range. Same thing with lower highs. We've seen lower highs on the daily time frame now 10 days in a row. Need to break 1205 to break that pattern, but if we can't get over these 5-minute moving average resistances, the bears are still in control. Bulls are battling those levels right now. Financial sector is pulling back. So BAC, filling the gap back to the downside. And support on BAC is 25.42, the last 5-minute moving average. So it looks like the tech sector right now is responsible, or I should say the financial sector right now is responsible for some of this consolidation going on in SPY. We're going to be watching this correlation between XLF and SPY very close. And they look pretty on point so far the first 7 minutes of trading today. Apple has filled the gap now to the downside. Again, it does stand out as a divergence between XLK. See if the bulls can turn things around. After this gap has now filled, we are still holding some 5-minute moving average supports. 138.72 is the last 5-minute moving average. Checking in on the oil bounce. Oil bears are taking back over. I said 49.29 was the must-hold level. We did just dip down to 49.25, so another lower high has been set. 50.12, and now 50.09, a lower high. The oil bull is not helping the S&P 500 at this point. Gold is continuing to consolidate. Bull miners are really liking how they are holding up currently, with gold continuing to pull back. Amazon also losing the 20-period 5-minute moving average support. We did break the high of yesterday, 856.40, by about $1, but now we are losing that 20-period 5-minute moving average support. Bulls are trying to build support at the 855.20s. They're buying the dip, the first two tests of those levels. We have all hourly moving averages as support by a long shot. We can pull back significantly to 853.53 and still be holding the 20-period hourly moving average. Keeping an eye on these long lower wicks, though, because the bulls are currently buying this dip this morning. And here we see SPY responding with a bullish candlestick on the 5-minute. Same kind of bounce that XLF is seeing. So I'm going to be watching XLF very close for the rest of the morning, as it does look like XLF is dictating what's going on with the S&P 500 so far. And look at that Apple bounce right off that gap fill. Apple bounce yesterday and Apple bounce today. Let's see how much upside momentum 139.20 is the 20-period 5-minute resistance. Checking in on individual names, we do have VRX trying to get over these 5-minute moving averages. If we can turn 1175 into support, we'll be looking up at 12 psychological resistance from there. XLF bulls want a new high of the day to show a nice recovery and a break of the little bit of a double top the past 2 days. So SPY and XLF very closely linked. 5-minute moving average support on SPY is 237.59 being tested. XLF just set a lower high, so a new resistance on XLF is 24.91. And we are looking to head back down towards this SPY gap fill. Losing that 20-period 5-minute moving average first thing on a gap up open indicates profit taking. 237.24 fills that gap. NVDA is one of the weaker names. Big time pullback first thing. AMD, big time rejection from that daily middle Bollinger Band. Big upper wick on the 5-minute time frame, rejecting from that level. And we're still watching Netflix. Netflix has been struggling at this daily middle Bollinger Band still. Pretty contained, tight range, not a ton of volatility. We should see that tight range break early next week. And I am bearish short term on Amazon as long as the daily middle Bollinger Band is resistance, and it's currently 142 on the dot. Support is down at 139.74. Checking out the biotech sector, comparing to yesterday. Yesterday we hit a high of 71.56. High of today is 71.59, and we're pulling back. 3 days in a row, we've topped out in the 71.50s. So there's very clear resistance at those levels. Still clinging on to a couple 5-minute moving average supports, but let's see if LABD is going to have some upside today. LABD is the inverse leveraged ETF against the biotech sector. Key support is 977 and 978 on LABD, and resistance is up at 1039. Keep an eye on LABD as XBI keeps struggling at the same level 3 days in a row. XBI is still holding all hourly moving averages as support. So a nice new all-time high on PCLN and Facebook today. Google got within $3.50 of its all-time high. And we are now seeing the minor bulls pull back in response to gold pulling back significantly as well. So if we break this higher low pattern, JNUG support is 544. And NUGT support, I'm watching 753 and 750. These supports are about to be tested. Gold bulls must establish a higher low and try and turn the trend back around towards the recent highs of 1206.21. ULTA getting tight. 5-minute inside candlesticks on declining volume. Nice start to the day with all 5-minute moving averages as support. Let's see, we had an open at 270. It was a gap down open. The bulls bought that gap down and filled it. And then looks like we ran right back to the upper Bollinger Band resistance of 279.62. So a wide range so far today. That upper Bollinger Band has rejected the price the past 3 or 4 times in the past 2 weeks we have tested it. So the bulls are going to need a lot of follow through to get through that upper Bollinger Band today. So I would be cautious playing bullish unless anticipating a breakout. But these 5-minute inside candlesticks should break within the next 10 minutes or so, 10, 15 minutes, and that will indicate the short-term direction. As SPY is at the low of the day, XLF, the financial sector, is at the low of the day, and we're looking to fill the gap now. NVDA continuing weak at the low of the day. GOOG 863, 50, 40, and 45. There are multiple tops at those levels. 20-period 5-minute support is 861.41 and ascending. So on this SPY weakness, I'm keeping an eye on Tesla, still holding up, keeping an eye on NVDA, which has been a lead bear to the downside, and also keeping an eye on Netflix, which is now at the low of the day. And LABD seeing upside with the biotech sector continuing to pull back. So LABD is now at the high of the day again. And the resistance that we're looking at on the daily time frame is going to be up at 1039. So the question will be, will the SPY bulls show back up after filling that gap? You still have some hourly supports we're testing. 237.57 is the 100 period, and then 237.25 is the 200 period. And this hourly candlestick still has 45 minutes to close. Looks like XLF did hold the low of the day, so we might have a bit of a double bottom there. 24.83 and 24.84. And the bulls want to break 24.91, that double bottom to have some strength behind it. GILD must hold 5-minute support is 68.31, or we lose all 5-minute moving averages. We are rejecting from the hourly 20 period of 68.52. And then the low of yesterday, 67.81, would be the next support. I do not like this daily chart because we did break the higher low pattern on this oversold bounce. 68.43 was key support, and we broke that, setting a lower low. So I would back off as a bull and wait till the bulls prove some strength to us after losing that higher low pattern on this oversold bounce. A couple names are still holding up just fine, even with SPY consolidation. PCLN is right up at the all-time high. Amazon's holding on fine. Facebook consolidated, but considering the very strong start, I would consider the Facebook bulls still holding on well. CMG is battling its 50-week resistance today, trying to see a close above 413.69, but the weekly time frame is still going to be a bullish candlestick this week. It's a big doji right now. Bulls would need to follow through next week. I am going to be keeping an eye on the CMG bulls coming next couple of weeks. They have some proving to do on the daily time frame. Amazon support, we're seeing the bulls defend the 855 range, the low 855s. If we lose that support, 854.21 is the next level. But all 4 5-minute candlesticks so far this morning have been bouncing right from the low 855 range. Here's XLF trying to break its lower high pattern after that little double bottom, as SPY seeing a bit of a bounce as well. Still a weak bounce on SPY. Facebook needs to lose the 20-period moving average support on the 5-minute at a bare minimum to be looking bearish. It's currently 138.92. And that upper Bollinger Band daily resistance on Facebook has been a really good guide for resistance. Gap to the downside on Facebook will fill at 138.57, so that gap is still there. Here we are testing that 20-period 5-minute support. WEED and the Canadian MJ sector still holding on pretty well. So we did not see a big profit-taking move first thing. So could definitely see if the bulls have some more upside momentum. Let it play out a little bit further. Looks like all names are holding on fairly well. EMC, one of the weaker names still. MJN showing some strength. I would like to see SPY fill the gap before bouncing. Came within 18 cents of that gap fill. So AMD bulls are still holding all 5-minute moving average supports, looking like we could see another attempt at that daily middle Bollinger Band resistance again. That's going to be a key level this morning. Or really all day. That's the level to watch. So SPY is back testing some of these exponential resistances on the 5-minute time frame. Some pretty decent bull volume in that first green candlestick of the day. If WEED breaks its low of the day of 11.19, that certainly shows us that the bears have short-term momentum. See if other names follow along with weakness if that were to play out. Just above that support level now. Technology sector is still strong, so Apple recovering after filling its gap. Resistance is 139.19, the 20-period moving average. But 2 days in a row, the bulls are doing a good job of buying this Apple dip first thing. NVDA is seeing some bounce. Its resistance is 99.61. The Facebook bulls defending that 20-period 5-minute, holding that level on 2 tests so far this morning. So the gold bulls just established a low at 11.99.14, and they need that to be the low of this morning. 11.99.14, key support, as oil continues to show weakness, unable to break the hourly lower high pattern. Natural gas bulls are still strong and in control. We just made a move up to 3.033. So XLF is making some moves here. After holding the low of the day by 1 penny, we are breaking the lower high pattern on the 5-minute time frame. A new high of the day on XLF should see the SPY bulls make a really nice recovery. SPY 237.91 is the 20-period 5-minute resistance. And there's some pretty decent bull volume on these 2 green candlesticks compared to the bear volume initially. QCOM extremely strong to start this morning. 5-minute RSI is 77, so we're getting a little overbought. And we must close above the upper Bollinger Band 58.64 to be in breakout mode heading into next week. So I would be cautious of the potential for a rejection from that daily upper Bollinger Band. We are filling the gap back to the upside. Not a lot of resistance at these levels, especially with all hourly moving averages as support as well. So the question is going to be, can the bulls close above the upper Bollinger Band on the daily or not? Exponential 5-minute moving average supports are still holding. BWLD bulls are recovering to remain in their weekly channel, holding the low of yesterday. And resistance on BWLD is 153. Make that 154.77 and 155.45. Decent increasing bull volume to start the morning. So XLF is heading back towards its high of the day, and you can tell SPY is responding really well. And the tech sector is at the high of the day, but it's been holding up all morning. It hasn't really had much impact on the movement that we've seen this morning from the S&P 500. I know I keep saying it, but it's all about this financial sector this morning. And SPWR still not ready for these bulls. We need a solid bullish reversal candlestick on the daily time frame. We have not seen one yet on this pullback. So just patiently scouting and waiting. And the bulls really don't want to see it close below 720 today. That would lose the weekly middle Bollinger Band. FNSR, very weak. All 5-minute moving averages. Resistance after a big gap down today. Bulls need that 20-period moving average as support. We've tested it a bunch of times this morning and have not been able to get above it. 28.96 and dropping. No bull signal yet on FNSR bounce. And support is the low from yesterday, 27.10. TLRD also seeing weakness. All 5-minute moving averages. Resistance here as well, 15.77. Gap down yesterday, closed near the low, and already breaking to lower lows today. No sign of the oversold bounce yet. Step number 1 is get the 20-period 5-minute moving average as support. So Google is still holding up strong up near the high of the day, and Amazon is not too far behind it as the Amazon bulls are defending 855. That's the key support to be watching going forward. WEED is down at the low of the day as we're filling the gap back to the downside. And that gap will fill at 1108. Bullish momentum trying to pick back up in SPY. We do still have some lower highs from the pre-market levels to be watching. If these XLF bulls can break 24.95, should see a really nice reaction in SPY. And XLK is now at the highest price that we have seen on this move, higher than the Trump reaction day. That shows you how strong the tech sector is, and when you compare to QQQ, which is heavily weighted in the tech sector, this is why QQQ is stronger than the S&P 500 right now. We're on the verge of an all-time high, 131.68. Checking back in commodities, oil bulls have not proved anything to us, and gold bulls bought that dip. Our new support is established on gold. Up towards the high of the day on JNUG and NUGT. Just hit a new high of the day. So we back tested. We held the 20-period 5-minute moving average support. Got the hourly 20-period moving average as support. Here come the bulls trying to break the lower high pattern on the daily time frame. 579 on NUGT, or actually that's JNUG. JNUG it's 579 and NUGT it's 784. Here comes that test. Right now we've got gold and the market going in the same direction. Let's see if we get some magnified movement to the upside as that is the case. ULTA, so a very impressive buying of that gap down open, and we do have that upper Bollinger Band of 280.82 Trying to close above that level. The next resistance on the weekly time frame, if we are able to close above that level, looks like we're at all-time highs. Nice increase in volume on this candlestick that did get that new high of the day. Facebook, that 20-period 5-minute moving average that continues to hold is currently 138.95. That is the level to be watching for the rest of the morning. Zooming in on the gold 5-minute chart. And we'll see if we're going to reach an equilibrium pattern here on the 5-minute. If we set a lower high compared to 1206.21 and begin to pull back, we will have a tightening pennant pattern, and I'll draw that once it begins to play out a little bit more. But right now, the bulls do still have momentum. The SPY up at the high of the day. We see the minor bulls really responding. A nice recovery by the SPY bulls. We didn't fill that gap back to the downside. But look at the last 15 minutes of volume on SPY and compare it to the first 15 minutes of bear volume. That's a very solid 15-minute block of bull volume. And resistance is going to be 238.02 and 238.32. We do currently have a double top on SPY to be keeping an eye on. The bulls do still have momentum, but if we begin to pull back, we'll be keeping an eye on that double top. So WEED continues to consolidate down near the low of the day. Checking APH, it's at the low of the day. ACB, just hit the low of the day. So we are seeing profit taking on these gap ups. We've got EMC at the low of the day. So clearly that is the trend right now on the Canadian MJ sector. Seeing some consolidation. We're not seeing a dump, that's for sure. But we are seeing some pullback. So I'm liking the gold 5-minute pattern that's currently forming. Here is this chart. Watching this higher low on the 5-minute. We just formed a lower high on the 5-minute. Going to watch this tightening range. Reaching an equilibrium after the 5-minute breakout. PANW. We got an initial bullish reaction first thing, and then we gave it back and hit the low of the day. So we've got the hourly 20-period moving average of 114.97 trying to hold as support, and the 100-period hourly resistance of 116.71. We're seeing a tightening range on that hourly as those levels converge. Need to see the bulls show back up and break 115.28. That would give me a little bit more confidence. We did break the lower high pattern on the daily, but it looks like that was just a little bit of short covering in the first 10 minutes. And the bears took back over. But I am still watching PANW very close. And I would like to see a close up around 116 or higher heading into next week. So SPY is a double top at the high of the day by 1 penny. Actually, to the exact penny. Gonna have to keep an eye on that. Tesla showing a bit of weakness. Tesla has a bit of a double bottom at the low of the day, 244.01 and 244.05. And now the WEED consolidation is getting a little bit more momentum to the downside. So a day for profit taking on that gap up open, the third day of the bounce. Here comes Tesla testing the low of the day. After that, we've got 243 and 242 supports. Continuing to show weakness on the daily time frame. It's not a dump by any means the past couple of days, but the bears have clearly been in control. MU is looking strong on the 5-minute time frame. And the daily chart. MU daily chart looks like a nice bull flag. The 5-minute chart looks like a nice bull flag. So I still don't like NVDA positioning in either direction personally. Floating in the middle of support and resistance. Look what Facebook did once it broke that 20-period 5-minute. Low of the day. Low pre-market is 138.65. It's the next support to be watching. Facebook at the low of the day. Tesla heading to the low of the day. I will update that gold tightening 5-minute pattern once I see a break. TMO very strong, holding exponential 5-minute moving average supports and up near the high of the day. Getting back over that middle Bollinger Band is a good sign for the bulls, 158.11, and the next resistance is 159.29. The daily chart looked a little bit like a potential bear flag on that little weak bounce for 3 days, but today is affirming strength by the bulls. Nice buying of the dip. The weekly chart has a nice long lower wick. Bulls want to maintain this 5-minute higher low pattern and remain in control as they have been all morning. AMD back to test the 20-period 5-minute support, which held the last consolidation. It's currently at 1350. Still battling and struggling at the middle Bollinger Band on the daily, and this is still a weak candlestick right now on that daily time frame. So I am still skeptical of the AMD bulls. E1350 support test coming up. X is testing its low of the day, 35.67. So Facebook will fill the gap back to the downside at 138.57. That's the target once losing that 20-period 5-minute moving average support. Increasing bear volume. XLF as a whole, the financial sector holding up. Natural gas is pulling back now. The daily time frame is potentially forming a bearish reversal candlestick. We close below $3 today. It will be a bearish reversal inverted hammer. We do need to be cautious on natural gas here. A break of 298 would be bearish on the hourly. Amazon, another test of these lows at 855. This is now the third or fourth test this morning. Apple bulls are back to the high of the day. They bought that gap fill in a convincing manner. Resistance is going to be 139.29 and 139.41. XLF break 24.92 here. We continue the move back towards the high of the day. That is what the S&P 500 bulls need to get over this double top at the high. Got gold attempting to see a bull break on the 5-minute time frame. We'll see when this candlestick closes, but the bull miners are responding. Still looking strong on the 5-minute time frame for JNUG and NUGT. So XLF rejecting from 24.92 multiple times. That SPY double top getting a little bit more daunting the more we pull back. Pretty decent bear volume this 5-minute candlestick as we're not even halfway through it. It'll be more bear volume than the previous candlestick. So we're likely to see this SPY 5-minute range tighten up a little bit throughout the rest of the morning. Volume compared to a strong high volume start the first half hour. Expecting that to taper off a bit as well. X another day where that morning pop gets sold into hard. Bears are in full control on increasing bear volume. The RSI on the 5-minute is 29 and support is 35.15, the low of yesterday. That's a must hold. If we get there with oversold 5-minute RSI, we can be looking for a bottom fishing play. So Tesla, it's the low of the previous couple of days, and the low of yesterday for Tesla next is 243 even. And the lowest price on this pullback is 242.01. We're setting up to close weak on this weekly candlestick. The bears are clearly in control of Tesla in the short term. Checking in on Baba and Baidu. Baba is continuing to get extremely tight on the daily time frame. Baba and Baidu are going to be plays to watch next week just because they're so tight. We know a break is imminent on the dailies. There's going to be a nice break and spike in volume and volatility in the near-term future. New support level for SPY just established at 237.69, and here we go, testing this double top at the high of the day. Got VRX up at the high of the day as well. We did turn all those 5-minute moving averages into support. Now we are looking at 1192, 1205 as the next two resistances. Here is gold on the 5 minutes, still in this tightening pattern. I expect when the break in Baidu does occur that it will be a spike in volatility and volume. Could be a couple more days to play out, but once we see the range get tighter and tighter on the daily time frame, that indicates a spike is coming in one direction or the other, and we'll look at the ranges, the tight, higher, low, lower, high ranges to indicate which direction the break is going to be in. GoPro oversold bounce underway, keeping that all-time low and breaking the lower high pattern on the daily time frame after 8:10. Resistance is going to be 8:12 and 8:34. We have to watch the hourly 20 period. Actually, that level is support now. Finally becoming support after quite some time. Let's see what the GoPro oversold bounce bulls have in terms of momentum. 8:12 test right now. WEED seeing some nice bounce from the low of the day of 1085. Bulls need to see some increasing bull volume to have confidence in continuation. But either way, this bounce here is going to show that we are unlikely to see a dump kind of day. We filled the gap back to the downside, and things are still settling in. Being like the range is going to shrink compared to yesterday, which shrunk compared to the previous day. So a good sign for the bulls in the sense that we're not seeing an all-out dump, at least at this point. EMC, the lowest price we've seen is 241. That's an absolute must-hold level, and the bulls have a lot of proving to do. Personally, I would either just be bottom fishing 241, but we have not seen bottom fishing plays work out well since 250 support broke, so I would just be waiting for a bullish reversal candlestick to be confirmed. Again, we haven't seen 2 green days on EMC in a month. Just patiently watching EMC and waiting for the bulls to establish a new level of support. The BBD, nice volume yesterday with a bullish reversal candlestick closing at the high. We saw some follow through today, but we are seeing some profit taking from that follow through. The bulls need to close up near the high of today to see nice confirmation and try and reverse this trend. Checking the weekly time frame to see what kind of candlestick we're forming. We're holding the 50-week moving average support of 201, but we're nowhere near a bullish candlestick on the weekly time frame. Bulls have a lot of work to do on the daily. We need higher lows and higher highs, but that volume with the gap down open yesterday does give the bulls some hope in the short term at the least. Need a strong close today. High-tech bulls are breaking out on the daily time frame with high bull volume. Low cap, high risk, high reward play. Resistance is 175 and 180. The bulls want to close above 168 to be in breakout mode on the daily above that upper Bollinger Band. And the tech sector is just on absolute fire. It's just been a slow, steady bull the entire day. New higher highs. 5-minute chart on fire and checking QQQ. Came 8 cents from an all-time high currently on QQQ. Gold bulls are in control on the 5-minute. They did close above that downtrend resistance line, and we're heading back up to resistance of 1204.29 and 1206.21. XLF cannot break 24.92. I think the S&P 500 bulls are going to really struggle to break their high of the day. Seeing those levels correlate here this morning. PANW bulls are back, so I do like this setup heading into next week. Look at that bull volume, new high of the day. Let's see if we can get some short squeeze going on here. 116.63 is resistance, followed by 117.93. PANW bulls are making a really strong move. Oversold bounce underway. We've got a bullish reversal hammer on the weekly time frame. I like PANW. Big time move. So PANW 117.93 is the next resistance to be watching. Hourly resistance. Bulls really want to close this candlestick above 116.74. SPY is struggling at the 20 period 5-minute. 237.90 is that resistance. Oil bears are in full control after breaking that key support of 49.29. Bears taking over. Natural gas just held a 298 support test. The ANW has a little double top at the high of the day of 117.80. That's a resistance level to watch. The goal for the PANW Bulls is to close above 117 today to have a nice strong close heading into next week with that bullish reversal candlestick on the weekly time frame. Their goal is to see more than 1.6 million shares traded today. We just had a 5-minute candlestick with 450,000, so that should be fairly easy. SPY seeing a tightening range as volume drops off and things settle down. I'm looking at support of 237.69, and if we break that level, 100 period 5-minute is 237.66, and then just the low of the day. Do have a double top at the high of the day. SPY bulls are hoping the XLF bulls can break 24.92. Let's try that again. SHLD is on fire on the 5-minute time frame, extremely overbought with a 94 RSI. And looking at resistance, key resistance of 956 and 952. The high of today is 950, so it is worth scouting. If we cannot break 956, potential bearish top fishing play. Very overbought 5-minute conditions. Looks like a wild, high risk, high reward, low cap name. INT, also a really nice bullish reversal, or I should say oversold bounce play on the daily time frame. Bullish reversal doji yesterday being confirmed today. Resistance is 36.77. We pulled back from 36.74 at the high of the day, so that 36.77 resistance is key. Bullish reversal candlestick on the weekly time frame, pretty similar to PANW, and definitely in the same boat of watching that play as well. And 20 period 5-minute support on INT is down at 36.23. I would say the SPY odds of more downside are more likely than more upside with where we're currently trading. I had to guess. SQ unable to break the high of yesterday, 1720. We topped out at 1718, and then we saw some profit taking begin. So Tesla's still setting lower highs. I've got resistance of 245.77. Anything lower than that is just a lower high on the 5-minute time frame. 5-minute oversold bounce the past 10 minutes. All hourly moving averages as resistance. But we are holding that low of, I believe it was yesterday at 243. Low of yesterday is still holding on Tesla. And if XLF breaks 24.83, we can anticipate SPY is going to hit a new low of the day as well. Keeping an eye on PANW consolidation. So far, very healthy and contained on the 5-minute time frame. X is a big-time bear, breaking support. We were getting clues with the big upper wick yesterday, the loss of that 35.71, 35.70 little double low. Lower highs and lower lows on the daily. The bears are in full control. 34.89 and then looking down at 34.55. All hourly moving averages are resistance. And bounce attempts will be anticipated to be short-lived. SPY heading back towards the low of the day. If we get a new low of the day on SPY, we're going to be looking at the gap fill at 237.24. PCLN is completely disregarding it. It's just hanging out just below the all-time high. XLF creeping closer and closer to its low of the day as well. As NVDA also creeping down. 20-period 5-minute resistance has rejected NVDA on every attempt this morning. Bear break on natural gas. Once 298 was broken, I personally would be out of any bullish positions, as we have a bearish reversal candlestick forming on the daily time frame today. Inverted hammer currently. Support on natural gas is going to be down at 2952 as the next level. Buy low of the day test approaching. If we do hit that gap fill with oversold 5-minute conditions, we will be looking for a bounce. Gold is getting very tight on the 5-minute time frame. Amazon has been slow and steady to the downside. Once we lost that low 855 support, bears taking over a bit. 20-period hourly support is 853.63 on Amazon. We actually have a decent amount of price action on X around 35 psychological. It was some tough resistance back in January. We are seeing the bulls attempt to hold $35 on X. We'll see if we can close above $35, but the next level after that is the low of February 9th, 34.55. PANW, multiple 5-minute inside candlesticks. Bulls are holding that breakout really well at this point, and we're going to see a clear break here in the next 10 minutes. Bulls need to hold the higher low pattern on the 5-minute time frame. We have a double top at 117.80. Bull miners are holding on just fine. As long as that 20-period 5-minute moving average support holds for these bull miners, they remain in control in the short term. SPWR bulls trying to defend 720 weekly middle Bollinger Band. We have a bullish reversal candlestick on the daily time frame if we can close 720 or better. I like SPWR if we can close above 720 today. That is the criteria that I need from those bulls. And we'll be looking at the hourly 20-period resistance, 738 and dropping. Still not convinced yet, but I'm going to be keeping an eye on it today for that first convincing bullish reversal candlestick in the past 2 weeks. So we're looking at that SPY gap fill 237.27. XLF's at the low of the day. Gap has filled on SPY, the 5-minute RSI, down at 30, so not too oversold at this point. You can see the bear reaction once we hit that new low of the day. 200 period 5-minute support holding 237.23, testing that level now. Hourly 200 period support 237.26, so there is a good amount of support in this area. You can see by the wild bid in the ask action here that there is a battle going on between the bulls and the bears at this level. If we continue to the downside, last hourly moving average support is 237.15. The bulls are looking to form a 5-minute reversal candlestick, trying to fill this, after filling this gap, I should say. Amazon 852.93 is the last 5-minute moving average support. Biotech sector heading back slowly to the low of the day. CMG bears have been in control most of today, so unable to get over that 50-week resistance on CMG. PANW just continues to get tighter and tighter. So the bears are in control of SPY right now, and they've really been in control since we lost that 20-period 5-minute moving average support on the gap up open. Now we have filled the gap. If we lose the last hourly moving average support on SPY at 237.15, we're looking about $1 to the downside to the daily middle Bollinger Band. It's key support right here, right now in the low 237s that the bulls need to hold. An eye on PANW. We have 3 inside 5-minute candlesticks in a row. SPY bullish reversal candlestick attempting to form on the 5-minute time frame, holding some key support levels. XLF has not lost its low of the day, so the SPY bulls do have that in their favor. Double bottom, it's now a triple low of the day for XLF at 24.83. PANW, it's not a bull flag because it's higher lows and lower highs. It's a pennant. If you were to zoom in on the 1-minute time frame, it would be more clear. So I'm going to wrap up the morning webcam here. We're watching the SPY bulls attempt to see follow through to the upside after this gap fill. PANW, nice bull break, continuation to the upside. 118 psychological resistance. Very healthy 5-minute consolidation after that breakout was very convincing that the bulls could hold that move. And look at them go. Awesome oversold bounce continuation. We've been watching PANW for about 3 or 4 days now. No signals to make a bullish entry. That's just the kind of trade that you stick on the back burner and keep checking in on. Playing out big time today. Next daily resistance on PANW. I'm looking up at 120.99. There is not much resistance at these levels. We've got the hourly clear to the upside, and new key support is 117 on the dot. That was that consolidation low that just occurred. The SPY bulls are still holding on, and again, this XLF bulls are holding on as well. So let's see if the SPY bulls can try and turn things around now that we've filled the gap, and we are holding hourly moving average support and 5-minute 200 period moving average support. Need to see some convincing follow through. We need to see some volume to back it up. So thanks everybody for tuning in. I'll be back in 15 minutes to continue chat room coverage. Hope you all have a great Friday, and I'll see you soon.